good to have finally someone with a seriously good lid on the show.
I had it chopped. You're unlucky. If you phone me, if we did it last time we were supposed to, it was like down to like here. But I just
it's strong. It's strong. It's strong. I've always admired your lid.
Today, we're delighted to be joined by ex-Sale Northampton Saints and England's international Ben Foden to help kickstart Series 3 in some fashion. Ben also
big gun.
Ben also made up 1/3 of the Celebrity X Factor trio TriStar in last year's competition. Ended up finishing in 5th place in the competition, and we will get into that shortly. Fourth. I'm so sorry.
Fourth.
Sorry, the internet lies to me.
I knew that.
Sorry. He's now living out in New York, playing for Rugby United New York. That's a bit of a tongue twister. All of which we will delve into shortly. But firstly, what's life been like living in New York over the last 6 months during the pandemic?
It's been I got out of Dodge just when it was all kicking off. I knew like Manhattan was going to be like a big buzz area for it. So me and my wife decided to move from our Manhattan place out to Connecticut. So her parents have a summer house out here, so we've just moved out here, spent the summer in the countryside and away from all the craziness. But it's been a bit turbo. America itself is a bit mental at the moment with the elections and all that sort of stuff, and Black Lives Matter, and then obviously coronavirus. So it's been a bit crazy, but life goes on. So
that seriously, Freddie, that's the kind of wife I want. If I'm going to marry someone, I want the parents to have a house in the countryside.
Mate, of course. How did you keep yourself entertained? Obviously, you've got a little baby, a little child, and obviously a relatively new wife. But surely, as a gentleman, as a man, you need to break out and have a blowout once in a while. So how did you keep yourself entertained, and what do you do for a blowout when you're in Connecticut?
Weirdly, it's been sort of like spending a bit of time on Zoom, on House Party and all these... and that's how I sort of keep in touch with my mates back in England anyway. So, but the problem is, obviously, you guys are 5 hours ahead. So when I used to call, it'd be like 7:30 for you guys. And obviously, that's a good time to start drinking, 7:30. Whereas for me, it's only 2:30. So if I started drinking with them, they'd all be legless at like 11 o'clock, wanting to go to bed. And it'd just be like the evening for me. So I'd have to still do the child duties and cook dinner stuff and entertain here. So that's the problem with that one. But we've been quite good, really. Like you said, I've had the baby, and just I had my kids actually from England over for the whole of summer. So lots of swimming in the pool, a bit of tennis, and just messing around the house and having fun and games with those guys. Sort of keep you entertained. And to be honest, I'm feeling my age now. Just a couple of weeks with those guys, and I'm absolutely knackered. So.
Well, I remember when Jim Hamilton did a brilliant feature when you first moved to New York, friend of the show, and you were living in sort of like a frat house, it looked like, with other players.
Well, that was I wasn't living in that house, so there was like where the hell was it based? It was like up in the Bronx, or it was in I think it was in the Bronx, and that was like the team house where 8 of the guys lived in a big house together. But I had my own. I had a 1-bedroom apartment on the Lower East Side, so I wasn't back to my student days. I was still living a solitary life. But
that's what I'd imagine it would be for me if I made to America. They'd make accommodation. I'd probably have a penthouse.
There you go. That's how you got
away from all the sort of the rabble. I'd be, I'd be the high salary player in my own place.
The rabble was nice to dive into, So if I went to drink on a Friday, I could pop over to the rabble house, do loads of destruction, and then come back to my nice, clean, penthouse apartment.
That's ideal. Is the Bronx? I'm guessing the Bronx is it sort of New York's answer to Clapham?
Yeah, sort of. The thing is with Manhattan, well, before all this, all this pandemonium hit, Manhattan was sort of spreading out. It was very expensive to live in Manhattan. So, the Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn was all sort of on the rise, and everyone was sort of moving out to there because you could get better digs. And obviously all these new apartment blocks were built, but they'd have like climbing walls, they'd have state-of-the-art gyms, rooftop pools, and all this sort of stuff. So you get more value for money moving out to like those sort of areas. But the boys in the Bronx just had a big massive house. It was like having 3 apartments on top of each other. So sort of like 2 or 3 guys in each level.
That's definitely an area I'm looking maybe to invest in property, because trying to sort of get a commercial property business off the ground with Ollie Barks.
Right.
So definitely we'll look at that.
Manhattan's mad for it now. It's an area that's dropped massively, but it'll always go back up. So maybe you want to wait another 6 months before you start, writing any checks out. But yeah.
Fred, just write that down because I'll attend to that tomorrow. My 9 o'clock.
I will do, mate. Foden, I used to work for Play Rugby USA, and so I'm very used to trudging all over New York to coach and play rugby from sort of Pier 40 to Randall's Islands. Now you've been there for a while, and the league is, really starting to grow. Have the facilities improved somewhat? I mean, how has life changed from when you first moved over there?
Well, yeah. Well, you've just said it. You've just mentioned that you've experienced the Randall's Island. Did you get the bus? Did you ever get the bus across the Randall's Island?
Yeah, I actually used to get the same bus. You obviously Play Rugby USA. I don't know if you know it, but it was like a charity.
Yeah, I do know Play Rugby.
Yeah, so I used to go like Christian Mayo. I'm not sure if he's still out there.
Whoa, hold on. When did you don't play rugby, do you?
Mate, used to back in the day.
Yeah, okay. Because looking at the state of your chassis and you got an earring, I'm not too sure that's allowed, mate.
Well, I know I was young, but trudging out there was a complete nightmare.
Yeah, well, that was the first year we were here. We used to train at Randall's Island, so I was a bit taken aback by that. Obviously, moving from Northampton, where the facilities are pretty nice and top notch. So, but we've come leaps and bounds. Now we were at Wagner College last year, and obviously colleges are well funded, and we had a good weights room, good training fields, indoor, outdoor, and we had good meeting rooms, which was all facilitated by the colleges. And I'm not sure this year, I'm not sure whether we're staying at Wagner's or we're moving, but again, I think it'll be linked to another college, whether it's in New Jersey or in Connecticut, or whether we stay on Staten Island. I'm not really sure yet. I don't think the decision's been made, but
the key is to have good meeting rooms.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Not just when you're playing rugby, but when you're working.
When you're working, you're with the facade that things are going well.
Archie said that he was pretty confident that he could play out there, maybe as a high-profile player. What standard would you say the league was?
Probably like championship.
Yeah, okay. So I mean, look, folks, I don't know how much you know about me, but obviously captain of the Clapham Falcons, which is South Division West 5, and
still striving to sign Bendon on, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, we were. I think my dad tried to approach you. I don't know if you saw that article that came out on my Instagram. But I mean, I'm semi-pro.
What happened? Why did we come unstuck?
I don't know. I can't remember what my dad said. I think if I get the article up here, let me just get the article up. Where's the Benders one? Here it is. The Benders one is. Let's just get that up. I think what I was given is the Clapham Falcons were believed to be in talks with ex-England fullback Ben Foden, but talks broke down as the Celebrity X Factor contestant demanded his own changing room and wanted the club to pay him for appearance fees on nights out with the team. I don't know if those rumours are true.
I can confirm. I always do like my own changing room.
Yeah.
It was one of the demands I put in for the.
That's the problem. I have my own changing room. So, and my dad was sort of saying to me, "Look, you're going to have to move." I said, "Listen, Dad, I'm number 10. I'm social secretary, captain. I'm the chief chat officer. That's not going to happen." But unfortunately, Benders didn't happen, which is a shame because Benders is a very good mate.
Like all these big deals are always falling short for you.
That's the problem. It's not actually, if I had the choice of running the club, but unfortunately my dad's the money man and my money man, father, and my best friend.
Okay.
If my dad's listening, I don't think he listens, but if he does, good evening, Alistair. He prefers to be call him by his first name.
Okay.
Ben, what's American rugby culture like?
He's a really good guy. You'd like him, folks.
I'm sure I would.
Yeah.
What's the rugby culture like there compared to playing back in England? Can you take us through sort of the normal initiation when you started playing there, or did you have to start that culture yourself? And what is a typical night out post a victory?
Well, that's one of the good things about playing over in America is that obviously each fixture you play, you go into a new city. So it's like Seattle, San Diego, you go to Austin, you go to Houston, and obviously before all the coronavirus hit, we could have a good night out afterwards. And usually the trip would last, 2 nights. Usually you get there night before, have a good sleep, then play the game, and then you have a night out, and then you leave the next day. So it was one of the positives of moving out here and playing was seeing America and seeing the different cultures and the different ways of life in different places. I'd say that, actually, to be fair to the lads, we're actually quite a professional outfit in terms of the players. Well, players sort of like wanting to be professional athletes. They want to get better. They want to play, for America in the end if they've got American residency, and they want to win the MLR and sort of put New York on the map. So, but we do have nights out. The old school sort of like court sessions were back in. I'm a big fan of sort of like creating a culture. I think that rugby, the better teams have really good cultures in terms of like not just turning up and training and disappearing off, but just sort of like knowing each other as mates, have each other's backs. And I think sort of like, friendships like that are formed over having a couple of beers wherever we are in the world. So we made the most of it. We did a lot of sitting sitting in the hotels when the results hadn't gone our way, but we still had a few beers just to talk over things. But when we were winning, we always say celebrate your wins. So nights out, we had a big one in Vegas when we were out.
Oh yes, please.
For the start of the season.
I've heard Vegas is a lot like Clapham.
Yeah, it's exactly like Clapham, just like Inferno. It's just a vibe.
Yeah. Oh, Infernos. That's what I like. But folks, just quickly, I mean, what's the C.H.A.T, the chat? What's the chat like out there? Because I've done business with a few Americans, and sometimes they can't really keep up with my pitter patter, but most people can't. But I mean, how much of the team is made up of all, the US guys, and what's their banter like? And then how much of the team is made up from, Chattosaurus Rexes like yourself?
Well, to be fair, it's probably like a 60-40 split towards Americans. Obviously, the rest of them are made up of anything from Irish, English, Colombian, Argentinian. We had a good mix.
That sounds like a lot of the my shag list.
Yeah, going around the world and completing it one by one.
What's their banter? Do they get the old rugby bants?
They're not quite. They're a little bit more taken aback. I think the brashness of our chat of English, you sort of hammer each other when you're best mates. You sort of any opportunity you try and hammer each other. So they get a bit taken aback by that, but. They love the culture as well. That's one of the reasons why the American boys are sort of getting into it so much. They sort of love the rugby banter, the rugby the rugby life and life as a rugby player. And it sort of makes you hard-skinned as well, makes you sort of quick-witted. So the Americans can always use a bit of that. So.
Okay, so let's say I come out there. I've got, obviously, everyone knows I've signed a 4+1 over here, so I've still got a good 5 solid years in semi-pro rugby. But fancy,
you just signed that now? Have you penned it?
Well, signed that about 8 months ago.
Okay.
So let's say I've got 4 years. I'll see how the rig holds up out here. But then I fancy, we've got, actually my company have got a office in New York. So I fancy going out there, maybe playing 1 year in the MLR. If I come there, are they going to get, for instance, me coming in and just debagging a few of the boys?
Yeah, I think that'll go down.
What about the?
I think the boys they do love a pair of Speedos.
Oh, okay, these guys sound good.
So you'd have to be debagging. Like I don't know how you like to debag. I think that if we're debagging, you go full frontal.
Oh, full whack. Yeah. It's almost like a tackle for me, but from behind. The nose is towards the rear. As I crouch down silently and I go for the whole shift.
Ultra bang, yeah.
Yeah. I don't mind getting the bum in my face.
Ideally, you pull it all the way down, stand on it, and then push them, right?
That's what I'm talking about. So they get that. One of the initiations the Clapham Falcons is the toothbrush in the bottom and singing the national anthem, followed by and everyone knows they listen to the pod, a good old bum funnel. But a Guinness through the bum crack into the mouth, which everyone loves. The boys still love it. It's probably my favourite method of drinking a Guinness these days.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm sure the Irish boys and the Australian boys will be all down for that. The American lads, I don't think they'd be too down for the bum fun. To be honest, I think that they're
okay.
They're quite sensitive.
Maybe start with a bum flick.
Bum flick. I think listen, anything like if you ease them into anything, you get them to play along. After, maybe start with the debagging, bit of bum flicks. After 4 or 5 months, you can always get down to the bum funnels and all that sort of stuff.
Okay, so
what do you do with the toothbrushes, by the way? You just put the toothbrush in your butt?
Just a toothbrush in the arse. It's just one of those. We're quite banterous where we in Clapham. I always have a toothbrush for the.
Once it's in, what do you do with it? You brush each other's teeth or what?
No. You keep it in there, and you just as he's singing, a lot of the boys just fiddle with it and try and put it in even further. There was one. I mean, my good mate Wetter, but bless his socks. He's a hooker. He's having a terrible time at the moment. He's honestly put a lot of weight on, but he actually lost the toothbrush. We never found it. So, but a really good guy, Wetter. If you're listening, mate, I hope you're all good. Okay. But yeah. So a lot of toothbrush action in Clapham. It's just one of those things that I inherited when I came to the club. But yeah, I think, folks, if you ever fancy a game, you are more than welcome.
Okay, well, you never know.
The thing I was going to say at the beginning, we're talking about lids, is I'm growing my lid out a little bit. I'm sort of bringing back the gap here look. I like it slit back. That's why I've always admired you, because you've always had sort of long, luscious locks.
I've taken a lot of abuse for my locks over the years, though.
Yeah, well, that's probably from Hask, and we all know why. He's
a lot of the receders. There are a lot of receders in the old Premiership as well.
I haven't played yet with my long locks. I'm looking forward to it because I think once get a bit of rain in there, I'm going to look quite.
You're going to go for top knot, or are you just keeping it long and letting?
I think I'm just going to let it. I think taking your lead, I can just let it flow. I think it will add to when when I goose step and unleash a bit of the 5 meter dash and then open up a gap and put people through. But has it ever affected you playing, or
No.
Will I be all right?
No, not really. Get used to it, really.
Okay, that's good to know.
It's been a. I never even had my hair pulled really either in a game. No one's really pulled my hair. I thought I'd have got a lot more of that throughout the years, but no, I think people respect it a little bit,
Ben, let's take you back briefly to your school days, where you seem to have done the opposite to Archie's teammate Pikey in terms of education, starting out at state school and then going to private for sixth form rather than the other way around. What are your memories of tearing it up on the pitch at Bromsgrove School and also off it? And what were the big differences, going from state to private?
I honestly think that 2 of my best years of my life were when I went to Bromsgrove School and it was a boarding school, it was a mixed boarding school. It was very rugby based, rugby heavy, because I got basically scouted by their rugby master when I was playing for England 16s. And I loved it. Yeah. Obviously the days are a bit longer because you've got to get up at like 8 o'clock in the morning or 7:30 in the morning to go for breakfast. And then you had to go to church, and the school day ran to like 5:30. But, once school was up, we had like keys to open windows and open, fire doors, and we had keys to pavilions, and the girls did the same. And Bromsgrove was so we're out the windows and causing carnage and running around with
bit of spin the bottle.
A bit of spin the bottle, bit of toothbrush action back then as well.
Oh yeah, there's nothing better than, I tell you what I miss about those days, which I think I'm actually going to bring back, and nothing better than a bit of dry humping. You love it. It's so underrated.
So underrated.
Actually, took a little cheeker back this weekend and had a bit of dry humping and then a bit of headers and volleys. It was pretty.
Was that her choice or yours?
It was mutual, I think. She was asleep. So,
okay.
Well, no, she was dozy. I shouldn't say sleep. But yeah. No, she did enjoy a bit of the. I think actually, if I'm being totally honest, I'm probably better at dry humping than at the real thing. I think I've got quite a good technique with the dry hump. It's something you should try. I try and sort of starch my zipper, so it makes it sort of stiff, and that adds to the sort of the movement and the rub. But we're getting completely off topic here. Sorry. Just love a good dry hump.
Ben, years playing representative rugby for England, age groups and county got you your first professional contract at Sale in 2004, where I'm right in saying you had your heart set on playing scrum half, but quickly were in competition with both England and Welsh internationals, Wigglesworth and Dwayne Pill for the shirt. Yeah. What stands out, however, is your highlight of playing for Sale in those, in that era, mid-2000s, surely playing a part in the final to win the Premiership was up there.
Yeah. So, like my first The first year playing, I got my first start for Sale was against a team called Catania, which is in Sicily, and we played them, and it was Mickey Mouse. We stuffed them 64-0, and basically they watched the second team game and said if there was any injuries, this guy's going to play on the wing, and there was an injury to Steve Hanley, so I started on the wing against Catania and played out there, and then by the end of that year, I started in the final against who were we playing? A French team. We played in Oxford in the final. I can't remember who we were playing, but that was the final of the Challenge Cup, and we won that in my first season. So I had my first sort of winner's medal as a starter as well in my first season. Then obviously progressed, said I wanted to play a scrum half, and then I got a start against Northampton, funnily enough, in the end of the year when we won in 2000 and was it 2007 or 2000? Yeah, I think it's like 2007 when we won the Premiership. And I got a start because we'd already qualified for the playoffs, and it was a nothing game. So I started for Sale against Northampton away at Northampton, and we put like sort of a second team out, but it was still pretty strong. Anyway, I played really well, and we won the game surprisingly. And from that game, they put me on the bench behind Celilo Martins ahead of Richard Wigglesworth in the semi-final against Wasps. Mm-hmm. And I came on in that one, and we won that game. And then Celilo actually dislocated his shoulder in that game. Which meant that it was between me and Wiggy to start the final of against Leicester in the final. And obviously, Wiggy had a lot more experience than me, and he went in and fought his cause, and he got the start in the end and actually got man of the match, played really well. So, good for him. And then I came off the bench and played in the final. So within my first sort of 3 or 4 years playing professional rugby, I'd already won a European competition and a Premiership, and had those sort of winners' medals already. So I look back at my years at Sale pretty fondly. I didn't actually compete against Peel. They signed Peel as I left, and he was sort of like, his signing was sort of like the nail in the coffin that I was going to go, because obviously Peely being there and Wiggy, it meant that I was sort of going to be number 3. And then you're sort of waiting for an opportunity or an injury to sort of show your stuff off. And having played England 21s for 2 years and stuff like that, I was sort of, wanting to get some more experience playing Premiership rugby. So I spoke to Jim Malander, who was my old coach before he left, and Philippe came in at Sale, and then he was my coach at England 21s as well. So I decided to go off and play for Northampton.
When you first joined Sale,
bloody good. When you're doing your CV, folks, that start at Sale is great. Just key achievements. Just put that at the top. That would grab my attention. I'd be like, this guy's employable. Carry on, Fred.
Obviously, there are a lot of legends.
Although, Freddie, you should have known that Dwayne Peel. This.
I've got my years slightly confused. Obviously, when you joined that Sale team, though, and you had all those victories, you were surrounded by legends. So, who looked after you in that squad when you joined, and also who did you sort of have beef with? Who were you rubbing shoulders up against the wrong way?
Well, I lived with Wiggy, so me and Wiggy were pretty close. We were good mates. I lived with a guy called Matt Riley as well, another guy called Neil Briggs. I had a few roommates throughout the years, and obviously when you start in the academy, you're sort of thrown into an academy house together. So I lived in the house with Ben Lloyd, Martin Holsaw, all these guys who sort of made an appearance and then moved on to different greener pastures in their rugby career. But it was good mates with Wiggy. Obviously Cueto over the years, because he became my sort of back 3 partner when I played for England along with Archie. They were all a good bunch, to be fair. We had a good bunch of guys. Magnus Lund was another guy who was young coming through.
Who pissed you off on the training field, though?
Yeah,
I'm not really one of those guys who gets pissed off. I always used to train and play with a smile on my face. So
calm, cool, and collected.
Yeah, I never try and never. Especially at Sale, no one really pissed me off at all. I was sort of like, obviously, I was sort of like the young gun coming through as well. So I was sort of like trying to keep out of everyone's way and keep everyone happy. But I think that.
What about Chabal? Was he there?
Chabal was a legend, like a legend. Yeah. Your typical Frenchman, I used to catch him round the back after meetings, smoking cigarettes and stuff. He was funny. He'd always shit himself when I walked around the corner thinking I was a coach, and then he'd be like, "Oh, it's Foden, don't worry."
Just before we leave the Sale days, can you tell our listeners how you got the nickname Pops?
Basically, on my first day of training from leaving school and going to Sale, the first day of training was the day of Pop Idol auditions, and I'd been on the RAS in Abersoch, which is like in Wales, with my mates after doing the exams and all that sort of stuff. And on the way back, I was like, oh, bugger it, I'm going to go and do a Pop Idol audition and have a bit of a sing-song and see if I can get on the show. Anyway, I told my best friend this, a guy called Stu Coakley, who was the best man at my wedding. He then sold me out for brownie points, the academy coach. And when I came in the next day, everyone knew that I'd skived off rugby. I told everyone I was ill, and everyone knew that I skived off the first day to go to a Pop Idol audition. Although I didn't make the audition because I was too hungover from partying in Abersoch. And we got stuck in traffic on the way back. So I didn't actually go to the Pop Idol audition. But I then had to do a Pop Idol audition in front of all the boys at Sale and sing some songs for them, which was greeted by being met by throwing ashtrays at me and hurling abuse. So
that's good. That's good banter.
It was a short-lived career in the pop world anyway. Until the X Factor came about, which was a year.
We will get to that shortly, Ben. But
15 years later,
when you started your England career, Martin Johnson at times sort of refused to pick you, even when there were some injuries in positions where you could be playing. So was there beef with Big Jono? I mean, obviously it came back around, but
no, it was more the backs coach Brian Smith. And the reason for that was, Del Armitage was ahead of me, and Smithy was the old London Irish coach, and the thing is, Del was playing good rugby. It was a position that didn't really need to change, if you know what I mean. Obviously, I was playing well and putting pressure on Dellen, but he was playing pretty well for England at the time. So
and Benders was playing quite well.
And Benders, Benders is my age. Brownie is my age. Ollie Morgan was my age. We all four of us played age group rugby together. I played 9. I think Morgs played 15, and then Brownie and Benders played on the wing during our Six Nations and World Cup when we were playing under 21.
That's a killer back three.
Yeah, was Kersey not there
Pops,
as well?
Benders and boring Brownie.
Yeah, all on the same team. Yeah, so it was pretty, and that was the thing. It was a very sought after position, and a lot of people playing well. I think Brownie and Benders got capped before me at 15. And actually, Benders was the one who told me. I went on a Churchill Cup tour to America, actually, and those were always great tours because the competition was rubbish. We'd always smash everyone, and we'd go on the piss every week for a couple of times. So it was good fun. But when I was there with Benders said to me, I said to him, "What would you do if I was you?" Because I was still umming and ahhing. I was still saying I wanted to play 9, but I was playing 15 as well, and getting the plaudits at 15 rather at 9. And then the England fold said they picked me to go on the main tour as a 15, but if I wanted to play 9, I'd go on the Churchill Cup. And I said I wanted to play 9. And when I was there, I told Benders this, and Benders said to me, I said, "What would you do if you were me?" And Benders said, "I'd play 15 and I'd play for England. That's what I'd do." So Benders is the one who sort of getting me there.
He's a spiritual godfather.
I had quite a similar conversation with Benders at school. Benders said I was playing 10. He was playing 10 as well. And he said, look, do I continue at 10? And I just said, no, mate, your future, if you want to make it, I said, look, I've seen you in the classroom. You're not bright. Okay. And, at 10, you have to have a bit of chat. You've got no chat. Go to fullback and you'll have a great career. And he actually, to this day, always thanks me for that conversation. Moved to fullback and he's had a pretty good career. Although I did at that point say,
maybe he learned his wisdom from you and passed it on to me. Maybe that was the one.
Yeah, so you're welcome. But the thing is, I did say to Benders at the time, give me 10% of what you earn. Can we spit and shake on it? And he said no, which is a big regret, I think, for him.
For him?
Because I think
he wants to give away 10% of all his
earned. But I would have invested that in, some exciting projects at AC Limited, my company, where we come up with all kinds of sorts of interesting business ideas. Like the one we've had recently is a barber jacket made of linen, so you can wear it in the summer.
Oh, perfect. So
we'll send you one out. Let's send Pops
I'll
one
write
out.
that down. Fodes, you briefly quote the most hated man in Wales during the 2013 Six Nations, leading to a bit of a bust-up with Alwyn Jones. Can you remind listeners how that came about? The story behind that?
Yeah, obviously, it's what happens when they send in a very young, sort of arrogant Englishman to do some media before the big first game of the Six Nations against Wales in Wales. And I think I think I was quoted saying that basically like Wales was like England's little brother. And obviously that was the headline, and it didn't go well. It didn't go down well with the Welsh fans and the Welsh players. But actually, in that game, within the first 3 minutes, I got the ball out on the wing, and Stephen Jones was the fly half. And he came in to try and melt me, and got his positioning wrong, and I sat him down and knocked him out.
Yeah.
And we went on and won the game. So, you know, I stand by my words.
I personally, I think Wales is like a very distant cousin. If anything.
Oh, I was generous saying they were a little brother.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I wasn't saying it in sort of like stature. I was saying in sort of like positioning in Great Britain. It's just, you know.
Yeah.
Just the West.
It's there.
Yeah,
it's there. It has to come to your wedding. But you know, it's on the table at the back.
It's a bit like you with your brother.
Well, yeah. Well, me and my brother are tight. Just, you know, really. I think it's a difficult relationship because he's jealous, Fred.
Okay. Well, Ben, in the 2011 Six Nations, you broke records by gaining more meters than any other player in the competition, which led you to hold down and lock in that fullback jersey for England's infamous World Cup campaign in New Zealand. Forget the rugby of that World Cup. How loose were those fucking nights out? Tell us all. I mean, were you part of that crazy gang?
Fred, I before you say anything, Pops, I don't know if we need to, because I've got What a Flanker here. Book by James Hakell. That it's I'm sure there's some quite good details in there.
Well, what
I love about Haskell's book is that he's done the audio himself. That is the sign. That is a sign of a rater, a good rater. I'm going to write my own book. I'm also going to do the reading of my own book.
There's nothing he wouldn't do for cash.
I like listening to it because I always feel like he's next to me when I'm walking or anything like that. It's quite comforting.
Yeah.
And next time I go out, actually, I might just try to get my AirPods in and just go for a pint with Hask in my ear.
I listened to him on the good, the bad, and the rugby as well, and he was saying like, I kept my nose clean and the whole of thing. I knew what I was doing. He didn't. There was one thing that came up that he didn't keep his nose clean at all. He was part of the bad boy crew.
Of course he was.
Naughty fridge.
Can you tell us about the best night on that tour for you?
Well, obviously it was the dwarf throwing night, but it was a stitch up. It was a big stitch up, the whole thing, and it sort of put a bad taste in it for everyone as well, because it was a good piss up, but everyone, we went in between Romania and Georgia were the two games we were playing, so we knew we were going to win those games. So they knew to take us away from Auckland, and if we were going to have a little bit of a loosener and a let go, take us to Queenstown, is it? And just let us loose on the town for a little bit. And the boys went tobogganing and bungee jumping and stuff like that. And then there was a big night out in one bar where everyone just sort of went for it and let loose. But it was a big stitch up, I can't remember what the night was called, but basically it was a night where they'd hired their own special security to be there. Obviously, the Dwarfs were there for some reason, and it was just a big stitch up, and obviously made the 10 o'clock news with Tins supposedly with a mysterious blonde girl who's actually married to my friend now. So I know the mysterious blonde girl, and there was nothing to it. So it was all blown well out of proportion and put a massive bad taste in it for everyone, because once that happened, we were sort of in a bubble, and anything that we did was sort of caught up by the media. And then,
who was the social sec on that tour? There, who was the guy always with a pint in his hand, leading from the front, just wanting to get loose?
That was the good thing about being in a World Cup as well. Obviously, only 22 or 23 guys back then could take the field. So you had 10 of the guys sort of on standby and not playing too much. Obviously, you get a bit of rotation, but not too much. So there was a few guys who were just there as sort of tourists. And when they, when all the players' meetings and all that sort of stuff was taking place on the Friday before we play on the Saturday, the coaches sort of wanted them out the way. So you sort of get the RFU card and sent away to a nice steakhouse. So I played every game in the World Cup, so I didn't get to go on any of those. But I think they were it was quite a nice way for them to sort of say, listen, you're not involved this week, but on a better note, here's the RFU card on Friday. Go nuts, go and have, some steak dinners and drink as many beers as you can. So
that's like at the end of a good quarter in my business, my CEO comes and does the same thing, just drops his credit card, and we just all head to the Ned, and it gets loose.
Nice.
And it's pretty decent, but saying that things get out of proportion. Actually, 2 seasons ago, there was an incident that was it hit big news in Clapham. We'd done pretty well. We'd beaten our rivals, the Putney Pirates. It gets pretty feisty, and we headed out to Clapham High Street, and we'd done the bar crawl, the legendary bar crawl. Ended up in Infernos, and I'd had quite a lot of lash, but I was looking good. The rig was in bloody good shape, and Henners, who was a guy I used to play with, Henners, Henry Jefferson, really good guy. His dad's brother is really high up in insurance. Actually write that down because I should actually message him tomorrow.
Okay.
But anyway, Hannah's got me Hannah's actually got me absolutely wasted, like so steamboated, and then stripped me naked, and a lot of people taking photos of me and editing them.
Right.
Yeah, and I was just a mess, and people like funneling me everywhere, and it gave the rugby boys a bad rap. But luckily, I've turned that round. I've confiscated most of those photos now. I don't think unless you hashtag little guy in Clapham, but but similar kind of incident.
Similar, yes, yeah, I get it. Yes, yeah, yeah. We did. We gave rugby a bit of a bad rep after that World Cup, and it could have been so completely different as well, because we'd beaten that French team. If we'd have won that quarterfinal, we'd have played against Wales, who we also beat in the warm-ups and stuff. So it could have been completely different, but sadly it wasn't to be. And that was my only World Cup that I went to. So,
Fodes, you've won 2 premierships, European Challenge Cup, countless other honours and first honours, got over 30 caps for England. Why did you decide 2 years ago then to go to America and pack it all in? Surely you had offers from bigger clubs in Europe.
So the main thing for me was that to go and play for another Premiership club just didn't make sense to me, in terms of like I'd go there as an old guy, sort of using my experience to bring through some youngsters. But I just wanted to finish my career with Northampton. I'd done so much there. I'd achieved what I set out to do there. And so if I did go away, if I was going to go and play again, I was either going to go away to France, or obviously this opportunity in America popped his head up. But I never really fancy playing in France, to be honest. I never really chased the money. I got big offers over in France in like 2012, 13. And, if I was going to go, that was the time to go, to sort of go and cash in the chips. But I always wanted to sort of stick around and see if I could get back in the England team. I got some bad injuries picked up, and sort of after the World Cup in 2015, I knew that I wouldn't be playing for England again. So I was just going to see out my contract in Northampton, and then see what was around, and obviously the opportunity to go to America and play in a completely fresh league that was only just starting, and that opportunity to go and play in America. I've always wanted to live in America and see what things are going over there, and I'm sort of glad with the decision now. Obviously, meeting my new wife and getting married to an American out here, but there's loads to sort of get yourself involved with over here, because it's so fresh, so new. At the moment, I'm sort of trying to, with a friend, setting up a production company to make a sort of like a BT Rugby Tonight sort of thing for the MLR, coaching roles, that sort of thing.
If you want me to come over, folks, and, be a presenter, I've got a high profile here in Clapham, the rugby world. Do enjoy my bit of patter. Just let me know. For a fee, I can be there.
It's a bit different over here. The Americans and the the Americans and the English is a little bit different. So we have to
but that's the quite good thing about my chat. It translates through any sort of culture or language. People just get me. They don't even. Some people surprisingly don't even listen to me. They just enjoy the general sort of vibe I give out.
Yeah. Well,
sorry. As I remember it, you'd moved to New York, and before we could all catch our breath, you'd not only just met the gorgeous American socialite Jackie Blennoff-Smith, but within 2 weeks, you're getting married to her on somewhat of a contentious day. In our last series, we tried to get Archie a wife within 10 weeks, and it failed miserably, but you've achieved it in 2. So can you tell us your memories of that incredible fortnight?
Not really. It was very blurred. It was the summer. We went out to Nantucket for a wedding as well, one of Jackie's friends' weddings, which was a big event, and just had a whale of a time. And by the end of the holiday, we were like, bugger it, let's just get married ourselves. And the rest is history.
Pre that story, there was a little thing about a Bumble profile being leaked, which I know annoyed you greatly. Were you not aware of the celebrity dating app Reyes at that point?
I was aware of it, but for circumstances, I didn't join it because other people were on it.
Okay.
Freddie Burns is on it now, and he's doing pretty well.
Yeah, that's it. I know that. Listen, and supposedly Cipriani and Thom Evans completed it long ago. So
yeah. Well, Max Evans was on the show recently.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you've had a night out with Max.
I haven't. I've not like football. Obviously I've had a few nights out with Tommy, so I know that Max is even looser. So, they're good boys to go out with and have a ball with. So I don't think I've had a proper night out with Max. Not properly, no.
The guy is a machine. We're actually sorting out a fairly good night. I don't know when you're next back in the UK, but we're going to Archie Wine Bar in Northcote Road. Me, Max, Tom, Nicole. Who else was on the show? Jeremy Irvine's coming.
Yeah.
Who else was on recently?
I love Jeremy Irvine. I love that you got him on because that kid is a legend.
Mate, he's got some good chat. He's actually starring in our new. Well, I'm writing a script at the moment. It's coming out next Christmas. It's a lot like Notting Hill, but it's called Clapham Junction.
Right.
He's prominent. Actually, it's quite interesting.
He's the Hugh Grant of it.
Yeah, he's playing sort of a similar character to me.
Right.
Quite a handsome, salubrious character that is just trying to find love, really. But interestingly, folks, while we're talking about that, I don't know if you know what we're doing in season 3 of this podcast, but we are attempting to go and get a Christmas #1.
Right.
And with all donations going to Restart Rugby. We've created a song. We've got a few people signed up. Haskell. We tried to get Levi to come on.
Is Haskell on the deck, so is Haskell singing?
Hask is he's doing one line, and he's also doing a hard house remix. So yeah, and that will be on back row beats. We asked Dylan Hartley, and he I don't know if we can use this language. He said "fuck off."
Yeah, I think we have a real good relationship.
I don't really know I don't think I'd get on that well with Dylan. But he tried to offer me out on the good, the bad, and the rugby. But
the thing is, once you're in with Dills, you're in with Dills. You've got to be in the inner circle with him. But if you're not in the inner circle, he hasn't got any time for you, mate. So you've got to get in there.
What I might have to do is go down to Northampton and bring my toothbrush with me and get in that inner circle. But
that would be one way.
Fodes, do you think you'd be keen? Could we get you to sing a line on the song?
Oh yeah, whatever, man. Yeah, why not?
Perfect.
That is how you do business.
That is huge.
That because you can't handshake on Zoom. I'm just pressing I'm pressing my hand on the screen. Yeah. If you just press your hand on the screen, just press your hand. That's it. And we just touched.
As just mentioned there, you obviously hit the big screens last year when you did the Celebrity X Factor, when you made up the band TriStar with Thom Evans and Levi. How much fun was that whole process? And do you remember the first night where your bandmate locked lips with Nicole?
No, I don't know. What he told me about the first time that he locked lips with Nicole.
Were they on a night out, or?
It sort of funneled down to him from certain people that he knew that she was interested in him, and then after one of the performances, I think we all got invited up to dressing room where she has all her crew and stuff for drinks after the show. And obviously, I had to leave and go and see my lovely wife, and Levi obviously left as well. And I think Tommy stuck around for a little bit and had a little bit of a night out with her.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. The whole thing was bloody, magic.
It's interesting. It's interesting you say funnel, because there you go. Everything good.
There you go. Yeah.
Includes a funnel.
Yeah.
But
The Evans as well. I'm sure that's where you got the butt funnel from. So.
Yeah. Max said he's done a bum funnel while skydiving out of a plane. That's the kind of loose character he is.
He is a loose character. So
Ben, both of you dating American ladies now. I mean, I used to date one very briefly and was incredibly overawed by the physical and lingual relationship and how extroverted they seem to be, which is such great fun. But surely you were of the same school of thought as I was, and on your first couple of dates, you were nervous to ensure you didn't let yourself down, both in and outside the boudoir.
Listen, as soon as you start thinking about stuff like that, you're going to let yourself down. You've got to always.
I actually did.
Yeah. Because I actually nearly dated an American girl, but at the end of the night, I couldn't hear her in Infernos. But then when we got she actually turned out just to be from Newcastle, and let me tell you, if American girls are anything like the Newcastle girls, wow. Yeah, there was a lot of action with So I had to get rid of a lot of toothbrushes. Put it that way.
Ben, we're lucky enough to be in partnership with Manscaped. Now living in America, I can imagine it's even more important to Manscaped. But what's your relationship with manscaping like, and how crucial is it for the modern gentleman today?
I'm partial for a bit of manscaping.
We should get Fodes one out.
Long at the moment, but yeah, from my neck down, I'm completely bald. So
yeah,
that's the way to do it. Just before we let you go, because you've been absolutely brilliant, Archie struggles with sort of many things in life, but
not really.
Also trying to create the perfect date. You've got 24 hours in London with your new wife. What's in the itinerary to impress her? Ideally Clapham, but if you don't know the area well enough, it may have to be stretched.
Just Northcote Road. That's all you need. Northcote Road.
Go for a bar crawl all down Clapham, I think, and then obviously end up in the wonderment that is Infernos and show a real good time. Maybe
I could come.
Get a table, yeah. I expect you to be there. Actually, I want you.
Well, CEO of Clapham, I would open. I'd make sure you get discounted everywhere you went.
Yeah, definitely. And I try and go after an England international as well, so you could obviously see a few of the England boys rolling in their Eden Park suits.
Fodes, we ask all our guests who come on the show what's been the highlight of their career so far, and also their biggest regret.
Highlight of my career is probably, I always change this. Highlight of my career is probably winning the Premiership with Northampton Saints, because it was something that's going to last in the history books, because they'd never won the Premiership title before. So that team will sort of be remembered forever in the Northampton Saints logbook. Biggest regrets? My biggest regret was probably not playing fullback straight away. As soon as I was sort of off of the two, Philippe wanted to play me fullback, and Jim, when I signed for Northampton, both wanted to play me fullback. And I think that me sort of holding on to playing 9 sort of deferred me from earning earlier caps.
And I know you don't have beef with your own teammates, but surely there was one cunt in rugby you played against who just really wound you up the wrong way.
No, not really. The only one time that I've ever nearly come to blows with anyone is I played against Paul Hodgson, who was a scrum half for London Irish. And he grabbed me by the nuts. And the first time he did it, I laughed and thought it was funny. And the second time, it bloody hurt. And then I said to him, like, if you do it again, like, we're not going to be friends by the end of the game. So that's the only time I've really actually lost my temper. Really,
that's such a good note. Just want to say to all rugby lads, look, ball grabbing is all good if it's banter. Look, if I actually don't mind people greeting me with a good old ball grab, but if it's aggressive, then it's completely out of order, and you can fuck off to Putney and play with the hockey boys.
And Fodes, now you live in the land of opportunity. Do you have any ambitions after rugby to be a musician?
I think the ship sailed on the old music career. I think that if anything was going to happen, it was going to be off the back of the X Factor. Yeah, but I have a few other things in the.
Levi's about to release a single. I mean,
Levi's.
Let's not bring up Levi. Let's not bring up Levi. He's sacked off this podcast.
Yeah, you still forget that Levi's only 22, 23 years old, so he's got it all ahead of him.
But you got the better voice.
Well, there you go. That's no. That's not for
and
me.
You came on the podcast.
Well, there you go.
Ben, if you had listened to the pod before, you'd know the theme tune more Ash, but I'm not sure you have. So, although if you had, we would get you to sing us out. Is that a possibility?
I'm not singing anyone out. I hate this. I hate being thrown in the deep end with stuff like that.
More lash, more lash, more lash.
Come on,
more
Ben.
Lash. More lash.
Guys, why don't you guys just serenade us?
Okay, Ben. Last thing we do ask all our guests is to look down the camera and ask the Clapham boys who play hockey, the Clapham hockey players, to fuck off back to Putney. So if you could look down the camera, say, "My name is Ben Foden, and can the Clapham hockey boys please fuck off to Putney?"
My name's Ben Foden, and can the Clapham boys who play hockey fuck off back to Putney?
Yeah, fuck off, guys.
Thank you so much,
shit.
Ben. You've been absolutely awesome, mate.
Folks,
Pleasure to
thanks
spend
so
time
much,
with you.
mate, for coming on.
All right, boys, take care.